Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Ambush on Air. I'm your host, Sam Bush. And as always, I'm bringing you a unique perspective in the Microsoft channel all around something we haven't talked about yet, and that is payments. If you're in the Microsoft channel and you were at Community Summit this past couple of months or month, depending on when this airs, you will have seen the number of different payment solutions. But I hope you saw this one, and that is PayTrace. So without further ado, let me intro you into a couple of my friends here at PayTrace. So Mary, why don't you take it away?
Sure thing. Thanks, Sam. I'm Mary Miller. I'm the head of marketing at PayTrace. And I've been with the company for about a year and a half, but I've been in the Microsoft Dynamics channel for a long time. And I love it. It feels like home. It feels like family. And to your point, Sam, Summit was amazing, high energy, great to reconnect with everyone.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm super excited about this conversation with Greg as well. You want to
Yeah.
take it away, Greg?
Hello, and thank you. I appreciate you, ladies, allowing me to join you on your fun podcast. My name is Greg
Yeah.
Castro. I have the most fortunate job as president of PayTrace and work for some of the most wonderful individuals. Mary,
You have a great team.
I
I
have a
mean,
great-
every single one, kind, pleasant, smart, dedicated. Like you've really crafted a good team. Shout out to all of you.
It's
Not
definitely
even
a
the ones
we
I don't
thing,
know.
Sam. Not a me thing. That's definitely a we thing.
That's even better.
I've leaned on a few of them to help build what you so graciously described there. They're awesome.
Yeah. So one thing I think is kind of interesting is unraveling kind of how you guys got into payments. My kind of view of everything is I've never been in AP, AR, payments. Like those are the areas that I've been in logistics, I've been in like fintech at a different level, right? So talk to me a little bit about how you got into B2B payments.
How I got into B2B payments.
Yeah.
I started in payments 30 years ago.
Okay, what about
Yeah.
30 years ago, what did payments look like then?
Oh, a whole lot different than it does today. I was walking door to door, as a lot of us old school folks refer to it as knuckle draggers.
Yes.
Carrying a bag, going door to door,
Oh my gosh.
promising people that accepted credit cards already, better experience by using my
Mhm.
service versus my competitors. Or for those that didn't accept credit cards, giving them more ways for their consumers to buy the burgers and fries or the retail,
Yeah.
whatever it might be. Again, these were all small terminals, broadband based, connecting to a phone line, the old
Yep.
AOL ding, ding, ding before it connected.
Dial up. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
know.
oh yeah. And a lot of us always joke about we remembered the download features and functions and how to reprogram terminals and all those great things that we did. But we drove a value to a customer that was cash or check back in the day.
Yeah.
And I know I'm dating myself, and I always joke that with my teammates, but it was a new thing for them to accept a piece of plastic.
Yeah.
I used to sell the knuckle busters for those of us that remember that feature as a backup redundancy offering.
Was that the thing that had like it was like a flat piece and you went
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
across
Oh, yeah.
and it would like, oh my gosh, I
That's how
remember
credit cards
those.
started before the electronic terminal came out. Yeah.
Yeah, which is just
And
so
you have to wait. Yeah, like 3 days before you'd see the charge or whatever, and you held on
Three
to that.
days would be more than that. Those
it
slips
would be
would
like
sit in a
2 weeks
drawer
and you'd
for
be like, I
days,
hope
essentially. Yeah.
not.
You
Or
know?
the slips of paper that had like the white, the yellow, and the pink, and
Yeah,
everyone kept a copy of it.
That's what I'm referring to, Sam.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Man,
crazy.
see, I remember that even.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm not alone. That's fantastic.
I
And
don't remember having the credit card myself. That would be my parents, but
Me neither. They wouldn't
I
give me
remember
one.
when that was the thing for even taxi drivers. Like you'd show up someplace and you'd get ready to check out with a taxi cab, and they'd be like, "Oh, credit cards. Hold on, they're digging into the thing to find the." Yep, yep. That
They would
was
take the pencil on a piece of paper and write
yes,
on the embossed numbers,
right.
right?
That was
Yeah.
secure. That was really
Yeah.
secure.
Super PCI compliant. Very much so. Yes. Yes.
yeah. Oh my gosh, too funny. So obviously that came with a different set of challenges than what you guys are doing at PayTrace today. Can you talk a little bit about what those challenges kind of evolved into as you have been scaling this machine?
Funny. The first thing was the acceptance of a card, right?
Mhm.
Cash, it was king, right? Or even a
Yeah,
check was more accepted back then, but
which is
cash
crazy.
was something that you acquired right then at the purchase. You put it in your drawer and it was yours. where a
Yeah.
credit is you're giving a good and service away for the promise of a payment, right? A credit
Mm-hmm.
of some sort. Now, whether
Mm-hmm.
that credit card you took was good or bad, you didn't know
Yeah.
back in those days. And so you had this trust factor to get over. You tried to build models where, hey, Mr. Merchant, I'm going to give your consumers more ways to pay. And so you're going to make that much more money. But that money that you were taking as a promissory note that Bank of America, Citibank, et cetera, was going to pay you in the weeks following in a deposit of some sort. So you had this myth to get over an old school merchant that was taking cash on hand
Oh,
to move
yeah.
into a credit sort of world. And it was tough. It was an easier sell for someone that already accepted credit cards for me, right? I wasn't a pioneer. I wasn't the first person doing this, but for me as
Yeah.
a kid, it was easier then to sell someone on the new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mary and the teams that we're faced with today and our CFOs in the B2B world, we're this digital payment world that they talk about and read about in every blog known to man. It's
Mm-hmm.
still something that the PO today, the check today is, it's tried and true. It's how I've done business for hundreds of years. And we're
Yeah.
bringing them into a digital space. And it's, again, similar but different conversations.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
bet. Mary, you said you've been at PayTrace about a year and a half. How has that impacted some of what you're learning?
Yeah, I think one of the things is that as organizations grow and want to accelerate their cash flow, right, want to have new ways to accept payments, the idea that credit cards are going to help them get there faster, that other digital payment forms are going to help them get there faster,
Mm-hmm.
there's still a little bit of a fear factor,
Yeah.
right? Fear. I refer to it as the acronym of false evidence appearing real. Fear. We fear what we don't understand, right? And
Yep.
if it's new, we go, well, I'm not sure that's really going to help my business, or that's going to cost my merchants money.
Yes.
And that's not going to be something they're going to find as beneficial in order to accept payments. And so when we explain to them that there are ways to help offset those costs, that technology has come a long way, right? Now you can get an authorization in seconds. You can know immediately if that card is valid, and you
Yeah.
can then process payment very, very quickly, as opposed to
Yeah.
those weeks that we used to have, in days gone by. So I
Right.
think as merchants understand the value and the way that it can accelerate their cash flow
Yeah.
compared to even the old days that took much longer, I think they start to see that, okay, this is a necessary way for me to help grow my business. And I think what's even more important is that as consumers, right, we're all consumers first. We want to go to the store, buy online, do our shopping the way that we do in our consumer world. We want to do those same things as a business professional, right?
Yes.
We're looking for ways to make our consumer and our business lives merge and be just as easy from a business perspective as they are as a consumer. So I think the technology that we introduce to organizations to really help not just accept credit cards, but ACH and
Yeah.
other digital forms of payment, and the ways that we, because we're focused specifically on B2B, can help them reduce those costs and maybe even
Yes.
set some of those costs. That education process is really what we're all about, is helping people understand the value to their business and
Yeah.
accelerate their cash flow at the same time.
Yeah, and I'm the millennial stats girl. We've got millennials coming in as buying decision makers and signers. For me, I just had a couple sponsorships for events come through, and one of them said I had to pay by ACH for like $7,000, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And now I got to go through a whole process
Right.
instead of me just logging in and putting my corporate card down and being done.
Yes.
I'm like, I'll pay the 3% fee. Just give me something I can do today. Because if not, I'm going to, first of all, forget about it. Or it's going to go sit in our APAR accounting
ma'am.
world that I know nothing about. And it's just going to hang out. And I'm like, what are we going to do with that?
Yeah.
We need
Yeah.
to
You know, like
sign
it's
Sam up as
barrier.
sales, PayTrace. Go, Sam.
I know. I'm gonna send him a note. It's somebody you know, so I will send it your way. But I'm
Well,
like that barrier to just the purchase in the fast movement and the way we're accelerating in businesses from an efficiency standpoint. I mean, the use of AI. I know you guys have some pretty cool AI technology that I've seen, and like how does that kind of impact how you target your audiences and things like that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've learned is business to business buyers, 7 out of 10 of them want to buy things online. Therefore, we're making it easy for them. And the more tools, the more data, the more visibility that we can give them into that experience, whether it's powered by AI or just data or just the raw volume of, what are we at, Greg? $48 billion in what we're processing. So there, it's a big number. We have lots of data. We have 40,000 merchants. We're pulling together that aggregate of data to say, here's the story that you can tell your customers. It will be easier for them. If 7 out of 10 want to buy online and you make that easy, they're going to continue. You're increasing your customer loyalty.
That trust,
Exactly. That trust factor is so key. One of the things we talk about in our generational,
I know. But it all stems from the same things, right? It's like the buying experience, no matter what you're purchasing, has become so interesting in the evolution of B2B becoming more like B2C.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm like, and if it's
most
not,
of that is done before the sales reps ever involved, right? I think it's 60-something%. Maybe Mary has more up-to-date stats.
It's 70 now.
Is it 70? Oh my gosh. See, I am old. See, I am old. But that's now translated to B2B. Most of our B2B customers have a online experience where they can buy their pallets of goods and services online via a very secure manner. And they may or may not even engage a sales rep at some point. If it's a returning customer, most likely not. But in those new ones, right, they're already done. It's simply where do I establish my credentials to go out and make this purchase?
Exactly.
And Mary's nailed it with the ease part, right? You can't make it difficult, particularly for the buying groups, that age group now that's coming into this. If I can't engage you through my phone and device in a few clicks, I'm out.
Yeah, right? You're wasting my time.
Yes, right.
I could not agree more. And I think what's been so kind of like eye-opening for me is, what's it going to look like in 10 years? Like, if this is what we're doing now, right? I'm like, are we going to be just like, I can look at something and it'll scan my eyes and my credit card's in there and it's good to go,
Yeah,
I'm
like, our glasses will lock on one another and the transaction will just go done. Yep.
But one thing that, since we're Microsoft chalkers right now, but also all ERPs, but for Microsoft specifically, I think this is where the worlds collide, because App Source, right? So they want all of us ISVs to be transactable in the marketplace. And I think it's their way of trying to get us to think more in that buyer's journey, where it's like, people already know they want your solution before they talk to you. So go ahead and just have them transact right in the App Source, hit free trial, add their credit card and get going, and then build your programs on coaching and training in application for them. Right.
Yeah.
So many thoughts. Okay. So I'm going to rein it in on one other question, which is, so are B2B and B2C payments unique in some way? Are there more processes in the background that we don't know about?
Yes, there are. My answer to the B2B, B2C is, B2B is more more complex payment, let's say, where you and I, if we go to a restaurant or if we go to our favorite clothing store, it's a simple transaction. I know I want this blouse. I present my credit card and I move on. Where in B2B world, it's most likely a much larger transaction. It is a buyer and supplier relationship. A buyer and supplier have different functions in the let's call it the business workflow, where a buyer is buying goods and services to most likely distribute to their community, whether I'm a contractor, whether I'm a vet, whether all those good things, they have a function that after they buy those goods and services. A supplier is not just a one-on-one relationship with one single buyer. They supply to multiple.
Exactly.
And so organizing that transaction, both on the buyer and the supplier side, is a lot of work. That's what keeps CFOs and controllers up at night, is organizing that without having a team of 50 people to manage one transaction. So it's much more complex. At the end of the day, it's a transaction. But that supplier that's selling to a buyer, each of those has probably a few steps, right? Some are more simplified than others. If it's a $1 million transaction, which we have plenty of $1 million transactions, there's a lot that goes into that transaction. There's different units that are bought within that $1 million. Me as a buyer, I want to organize where my spend is based on unit, and then that gets distributed to my end users. And as a supplier, you want to make sure your costs are appropriate, your return on your investment or your sale. And all of that goes to a specific GL within the business community, or Business Central, or Microsoft world. That is all a step for one transaction.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
organizing that is super important. Super important.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
And just to add to that, the whole level of cost, right? There's varying elements in the cost and the different steps that that transaction takes, where the issuing bank, the processor, the different players along the path of that credit card transaction, every one of those players takes a small cut of that fee, right? So our goal as B2B solution providers is to really reduce the cost for the merchant that's accepting that card and be able to pass some of those costs back on to the buyer. Again, we know that there's going to be a cost of doing business and accepting credit cards, but we
Yeah.
want to minimize it as much as possible. And we want to give that merchant a way that they can, have their customer share in that cost to the extent that is reasonable. And for business to business transactions,
Yeah.
they can be qualified for rates that actually are better than what you or I would experience as a consumer. So all of
Yeah.
that complexity goes into the processing of the B2B card transaction and gives merchants ways to save money at the same time.
I feel like a child, but I think this just clicked for me, which is so funny. But so when I do an online payment and at the bottom it says like 3% like surcharge for blah blah blah, that's what you're
Yep.
talking about.
Yes, ma'am. Mary was flexing the PayTrace muscle there, is what she
It
was.
was.
Right.
I mean, a year and a half in, she's basically a solution architect. She's got this.
Always fun. It's always fun.
And everybody got to hear my blonde moment there, so you're welcome. If you're still listening, no, I'm playing.
That's helping that merchant provide you goods and services at a
Yeah.
competitive price, Sam.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes total sense.
Right.
And I just always am like, just pay the fee, like whatever, like just out of sight, out of mind, whatever. It's easier for me to pay with a card than it is ACH, so I'll pay the 3% or the. I
Right.
think
Like you
one
said earlier,
conference was
your
15%.
example is a real life example. Yes. The
Yeah.
ease in doing something is almost worth the expense, right? So you have to weigh those options. And most of our merchants do weigh those options, right? We give them both functions. They can do either,
Yeah.
but they do have to weigh the option on how fast that credit card transaction moves goods and moves money into their account, right? So them having cash on hand is king.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Yep.
Okay, so as we kind of wrap, I do have one last question, and that is, how do you expect some of this to emerge in the next couple of years? What are you guys thinking about when you're building product and building your kind of plan? Are there trends that you're paying attention to? Anything like that?
My initial response is to continue to make it easier for our customers, right? The customers that are managing the supplier experience, and mostly in our world on that side. I think the introduction of AR has been fantastic, and there's AP functions that are out there. They've been somewhat disjointed for the most part, right? We've had AR function and AP function. They've been treated as such, and you do what you do, and you do it really well. Mary and the teams were working really hard to sort of simplify that and combine the two. And I don't mean combine AR and AP, because that'll never happen, but marry the two services up to allow a controller and CFO to manage that experience better. Yeah. I think the digitized piece from credit card, we'll see our real-time payments, we'll see bank to bank, we'll see all sorts of things. I mean, let's not forget that we always have the Bitcoin worlds and blockchain and all that stuff that's still out there, hasn't gone away. Those will continue to influence large organizations and how they accept payments, how they move invoices, and how they, PO process from 30, 60, 90 days. That'll be gone. Yeah. It'll be buy $1 million, see $1 million in your bank account within 30 minutes. 1 minute. Yes. So we have to be able to facilitate that, right? And Mary nailed it, right? And be able to easily facilitate it. You don't have to have a degree from Harvard to go out and run an algorithm to maintain sanity, right? You should be able to rely on someone like a PayTrace to help you do all of that and organize all of that transactional craziness that goes on behind the scenes. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. Mary, anything from you?
Yeah, just to kind of expand on that in the Microsoft space in particular, where we look at the ERP experience, right? I came from being a user years ago and, kind of having that experience. You live and breathe when you're in an accounting function or a finance function, you live and breathe in that ERP system. So the more the technology that Greg just described can live inside that ERP, the concept of embedded payments, embedded finance, that whole embedded solution is really what the Dynamics market lives for, right? They want to have one system that's their primary go-to and be able to manage all of those functions with all of the same ease, reducing that friction inside the tool that they live and breathe in to run their financial system. So I think combining that technology and the embedded experience really makes a complete solution that buyers should expect. That Dynamics buyers.
I agree. I think even in my life, in some of the companies I've worked for or software I've purchased, I will go in and expect it to stay right in the ERP, and I'll click a button in like a demo or something and be like, whoa, why am I over here? Like, can I just log into that separately? But then why would I do that if I want to be in here all day? Or how do I coach my team to go into D365 sales and then go over to Click Dimensions or to go into HubSpot separately? I need them all together. If I want them to live somewhere, they live one place, not 6, right? So I think that's universal. And we've got to get better at it as a B2B.
It's a lot to ask, right? It's hard. It's very hard to do. There's a lot of, we have a ton of peers in the space that work really hard to try and do all that, but it's still a difficult task. And there are so many introductions of new ways to do business, of new functions and new features, new apps in the App Store, right? That continues. It's never going to stop. And so the organization and ease of use will continue to be a challenge for all of us, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, as we wrap up, any parting words before we say sayonara?
Why is it so short?
It was almost 25 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
I know, we could talk for 3 hours.
I'm just teasing. I just want to get invited back, Sam. I just want to be invited back.
You can come back anytime you want.
All right.
Next time I'm in town with you guys, I'll come to your podcast studio and we'll record it. It'll look a lot better.
We've got Mary built a PayTrace studio.
It's so cool. I've seen it.
I've got all kinds of boards and buttons behind. I have no idea how to do any of that stuff, but it looks really neat.
Cool. She's cool. I don't know.
I like her.
My kids might not say that, but thank you.
Yeah, well, they're wrong. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, for everybody tuning in today, thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Mary and Greg, for coming on today and talking me through payments and hearing a little bit of my naivete on a few things. I appreciate your time and thanks for coming today.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Mary.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Party on. Thanks for joining.